Oli Marmol will return as the manager of the St. Louis Cardinals in 2024. Why I think this was the plan, no matter how bad things got this season, on today's episode of Locked On Cardinals.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily St. Louis Cardinals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey there, Cardinals fans. I'm JD Hafford, and I'm a national radio sports anchor, born and raised in the Lou, and a lifetime Cardinals fan. And I'm your host for Locked On Cardinals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You can follow me on Twitter at JD Sports Radio and the podcast at LO_Cardinals. We want to thank all of you who make Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. Free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Like, subscribe, comment, interact with us, hit the notification button so you know when the new episodes are posted. This is a show serving Cardinal Nation and giving the best fans in baseball all of the info about the birds on the bat. Today's episode brought to you by Sleeper. Swing for the fences on Sleeper Picks, and you can win up to 100 times your money. Download the Sleeper app and use promo code Locked On. You'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 30 states. Check out Sleeper today. So as you can see, if you're watching on YouTube, I got the ugly old man shirt on today because we got a dub on Sunday. Way to go, Cardinals. Now, they did drop 2 of 3 over the weekend against the Phillies, but outside of Saturday's game, they were 2 very quite competitive and entertaining ball games to watch. The Miles Michaelis starts, they're just unbearable to me right now. I'm sorry. I cannot get excited about watching anything that Miles does right now. It is just not a lot of fun. I don't care what his facial hair and haircut is. I don't care what he changes. I just can't. It just isn't fun for me. But we're going to recap the weekend a little bit later on in this episode, which includes the heroics from one Jordan Walker. But first, let's start with the biggest news over the weekend. Tyler O'Neill is hurt again. I'm kidding. That's not big news. In fact, that's like predicting that the sun will rise and set tomorrow. It's bound to happen at some point. No, the big news, obviously, which wasn't surprising to me at all, but was just finally said out loud and officially brought up, was that manager Oli Marmol will be back managing the St. Louis Cardinals in 2024. Now, since I don't know, like June, I guess June, we can say, Cardinal fans have wanted Oli thrown away like yesterday's garbage. I personally, at one point, thought that perhaps a change was needed just because of the way the team was playing. The attitude it looked like they had out there on the field, the lackluster effort, all of that screamed that they didn't want to be out on that field playing baseball anymore, at least not for him. And I've said it repeatedly this year that I hadn't seen so many fundamental mistakes and a lack of effort like I had seen in the Cardinals early on this season since the end of the Mike Matheny era. But I also pointed out that Mike Matheny at least had a couple of years of declining numbers before they finally pulled the trigger on firing him. So they gave him some time to at least turn things around, and it didn't happen. They weren't playing what we consider Cardinal baseball. This year, we have not seen a lot of the Cardinals playing what we deem Cardinal baseball. Good, fundamental, smart baseball. We just haven't seen a lot of it. Last year, Oli managed them to the playoffs, where they disappointed, like they did when his predecessor was in charge, Mike Shildt. For all the good that Mike Shildt did over those couple of seasons, after taking over for Mike Matheny, he didn't win anything in the playoffs either. They fell flat on their faces each year with him in charge. And it was no different for Oli last year, who was a bum Ryan Helsley finger away from taking a 1-0 lead over the Phillies in that series. And who knows what happens from there. If Ryan Helsley doesn't randomly get hurt facing the Pirates, jamming his finger onto the ground or whatever the hell happened, and then for some reason he can't find the strike zone in Philly against Philly, who knows what happens? I mean, these are the same Phillies who just took 2 of 3 from the Cardinals this weekend, who blasted them in Philly just before that and went to the World Series last year. after beating the Cardinals in the wild card round. They're a really good team. And the Cardinals were right there with them last year. And then it just went, was it all Oli's fault? No. I mean, coming into the season, the team had high expectations. We know that. Certainly, we thought they were going to be a playoff team. Most people thought they were going to win the division, that it was going to be them and Milwaukee, and there was nobody else. And now we see Milwaukee doing Milwaukee things and winning. But the Cubs came up, the Reds came up, the Pirates for a little bit were better, and the Cardinals just disappointed. Especially after just a horrible April. They just never got consistent play from anybody, like really anyone. Even the great Nolan Arenado has had a tough season. Remember, lost at the plate in April. Had no idea. It looked like he'd never swung a baseball bat before. And then he's had the defensive issues this year that we're not used to from him. Paul Goldschmidt, although good this year, hit another home run on Sunday, has not repeated his MVP form. He has come up way short in clutch situations this year. It's been really, really disappointing. And the fans will let you know how upset they are at Goldie about it. You know, he seems like he does some good here and there, but when it's like clutch time, he's disappointed a lot this year. Has a lot of the Cardinal hitters. It's not just him. Everybody's had a tough time with leaving people on. The outfield, suffered a bunch of injuries. They continue to suffer through injuries. Tyler O'Neill goes down again the other day. He's got the sprained foot, probably done for the year. They found out that the pitching staff that John Mozeliak and company banked on to be good enough to compete simply was not even close to being good enough. They underestimated the effect of the new shift rules on their pitching staff. Balls in play that may have been outs before are now becoming base hits, and they led to big innings against a staff that lacked the strikeout ability to get them out of trouble. And I tell you these things as not as excuses for Oli. I'm just telling you that these are reasons why the team is disappointed. Not much of that I just mentioned can be blamed on Oli. He didn't construct this team. It wasn't his choice to put all these guys together. This was the team he was given, and they weren't good enough. And I'm sure he did have some input on personnel, but those decisions at the end come down to one man, and that is John Mozeliak, who I have crushed on this over and over on this podcast, that I think he did a horrible job, that he's continued to do a horrible job, and he's going to have to fix things for next year. Now, Oli isn't, just free of any sort of blame for all of this either. He's had his own issues. Every manager does. Leaving pitchers in too long, taking pitchers out too early, bringing in Andre Palante every single game, despite his lack of success. Lineup choices that left you kind of scratching your head, confused, dumbfounded. Did Oli handle bringing up Tyler O'Neill? Did Oli handle that Tyler O'Neill not hustling against Atlanta situation the right way? In my eyes, no. I feel like those were conversations that should not have been had in front of the media. He should have taken Tyler behind the scenes and talked to him there. How about all the Wilson Contreras drama early on? To me, that all feels like things that Oli should have handled internally in the clubhouse. How all of that stuff got out and rumors of him playing the outfield and all that jazz, I don't know. But I think when you have somebody as a manager who's in charge and is better at handling those situations, that doesn't happen. Was he exposed because of the way Pujols and Molina ran the clubhouse last year? To an extent, I think all of us underestimated how much power Yadier Molina specifically had as far as how things were run with the pitching staff. I had no idea that the pitchers had no idea what pitch to throw unless Yadi put it down in front of them. Who knew? Who knew that Yadi controlled everything? I did not know it was to that extent. But one thing that does stand out to me about this season and Oli Marmol is that despite all of this chaos that happened this season, all the losing, all the disappointment, all the finger pointing, we continue to get reports that Oli had not lost the clubhouse, that the guys genuinely still liked him and believed in him as a manager of this team. We're going to go back to June with some quotes when things were as bad as they get. In June, Paul Goldschmidt, on the record back in June, says that his confidence in Oli as high as it's ever been. Put the blame on the players, saying that you can't blame the coaching staff when we don't perform. And then Arenado echoes those sentiments, saying it's easy to blame the coaching staff, but that they work their tails off. and that the players just don't execute. Now, had the clubhouse turned on him and left him out to dry, a change would likely have been needed. But if this is all true and it continued to remain this way the rest of the season, then it made sense to bring him back for his third and final year of his contract, which is set to expire at the end of the season. I know we live in a world where we want immediate results. I'm just like you. That was part of the reason why during the season I said, let's get a change in here. I wanted to save this season. But when you look at the contract and you look that he had 1 year left and then it might be over anyway, it made sense. And as long as he hadn't lost the clubhouse, I think I'm okay with this. I really do. The Cardinals will have a losing record this season for the first time since 2007. There are a ton of things that allowed this to happen. There's blame to go around on every person in that front office and in that clubhouse. Do I think Oli should have been fired at one point? I did. But again, I was hoping to salvage this season, not looking at the big picture. And the big picture is maybe this is something that they all realized early on. The team that was constructed and the way they were built was simply not good enough. It didn't matter who the manager was going to be. The players weren't good enough. This season was not planned out well enough to win in today's age of baseball. John Mozeliak has repeatedly supported Oli. That's his dude. And I get it, why he backs him up. And he did it again this weekend, saying to Katie Wu at The Athletic, I think the job that Oli Marmol has done is good. I really do. I think this year is tough. There's always going to be finger pointing on what went wrong, what could we have done differently, and that starts with myself. We know when we look at 2024, things have to be different. But I'm certainly encouraged with what I see from Oli as a young manager. He's extremely well organized, and I think he's prepared. And I do think he gets a lot out of his players. I mean, these are all very good reasons why you bring him back. And again, I'll repeat it. If he had lost the clubhouse and all the players had turned on him and said, no, this guy's not right, then you got to make a change. But if they all still believed in him and it was really just underperforming by all of the players, look how many people had down years this year. That's all Oli's fault. I mean, he can only write out the lineup. He can't go hit the ball for him. He can't field it. He can't throw it. These are the people he had to work with. Now, changes are still coming, just not at the managerial position. Mo got into a little bit more about that, talking about the coaching staff outside of Oli. We're going to share some of those quotes with you next on Locked On Cardinals. Modern medical care and treatment are important, but our global supply chains, they're fragile. Things like pandemics, natural disasters, foreign travel, they could cut you off from the treatment that you need. And that is where Jase Medical comes in. Jase Medical is your solution. All you have to do, guys, is fill out their online form, and one of Jase Medical's board-certified physicians will review it. They'll check it out, make sure all the T's are crossed, I's are dotted to determine whether medications are safe and if they're appropriate. You know, they're not just going to give medicine out to just randos. You gotta actually need the stuff. And then Jase will do it very simply for you. They're going to send the prescriptions to one of their partner pharmacies, and then that order will get filled out just like you would as from a guy or a gal that your doctor is locally. And then they mail it directly to your home. So you actually don't have to go and pick it up. You know, you don't have to wait in line outside of like a Walgreens or something like that. No, they'll mail it directly to your home. You can also send your physician a message for answers to treatment-related questions at any time, because we all know we have emergencies and things happen at the oddest hours, don't they? I always have issues go down on like holidays. Like I got bit by a cat one year on Thanksgiving and my hand swelled up, like stupid stuff like that. It happens to me at the worst times when you think nobody's available. Jase Medical is available. Everyone should be empowered to care for themselves and their loved ones during the unexpected. That's why Jase Medical offers the Jase case. Save more than $360 by getting these life-saving antibiotics with Jase Medical, plus an additional $20 off by using my code LOCKEDON at checkout on jasemedical.com. That's JASE medical.com. The Cardinals are at home against the Brewers. You can catch every pitch of the Cardinals' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Cardinals. Thank you again for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. Always enjoy the feedback. Drop comments on YouTube. Hit me up on Twitter. Your feedback always welcome and encouraged. I'm sure we'll get plenty on Oli being announced as the manager for next year, and perhaps on some of these thoughts by John Mozeliak about the pitching staff. Because now that we know that Oli is officially back, which I told you was going to happen for months and months, what about the guys surrounding him on this coaching staff? Most people aren't thrilled with the job that Dusty Blake, as the pitching coach, Turner Ward as the hitting coach, have done this year. More on Blake, really, because we know that the offense actually has been pretty good this year, right? For the most part. I know they don't seem to hit very well with runners in scoring position or with the bases loaded. They're terrible. But when you go back and you look at the numbers overall, offensively, not too much to worry about. You always want to improve. But more people are upset with what's been going on with Dusty Blake. And I don't know the guy, whether or not to tell you he's a good coach or not. The results this year have been ugly. I can tell you that much. But we've also seen some guys thrive. Jordan Montgomery was fantastic this year. Jack Flaherty having a bit of a resurgent year for him, considering all the injuries that he's dealt with. Jordan Hicks, remember, he was terrible at the beginning of the year. They got him straightened out. They figured things out. They made some adjustments. He was great. JoJo Romero, been a nice surprise. Zach Thompson and Dakota Hudson have been bright spots here at the end of the season. Drew Rom appears to be headed in the right direction. We give Blake a hard time, but when you step back and you look at things, it's not all negative. I know it's easy to focus on the bad stuff because it's been so ugly, but there are some good things that have been done as well. Now, if you want Dusty Blake fired or reassigned into a different position in the organization, there's probably nothing I can say to you that will sway you differently, and that's fine. You can want Dusty Blake fired, go for it. I mean, I like veteran guys as my pitching coach and my hitting coach. I like guys that have a lot of experience, has been around the major leagues for a long time. I don't mind having the young guys in the minors, but when it comes to the major league coaching staff and rosters, I like it when you've got somebody with a little more gray hair on them, a little more veteran. I loved the Dave Duncans and the Mike Maddoxes of the world, but that's what I'm used to. I think Blake was underqualified to take on this role. But Mo had good things to say about him and the coaching staff in general. Once again, taking this from Katie Wu from the Athletics article that she put up recently. And Mo had this to say. I think it's hard to judge Blake in the sense of when you look at just pure performance because of all the injuries plus all the trades we made. I think he's a modern progressive coach that understands the modern tools and how to use them. He has a very bright future in this league and is certainly someone we believe in. Ward has been a major league hitting coach in the past. He understands. I think he's done a great job. And I think players like working with him. I think Joe McEwing's case, he was definitely drinking from a fire hose due to his late hire. So there was a lot to digest for him this year. I think he's trying to make adjustments as he goes, and that's understandable. As far as the staff for next year and changes, none of those decisions will likely be made until the end of the season meetings that they have every year. So this is nothing new. But Mo went on to say, we're going to reflect on it, but as a whole, we like this group. And the key when you think about staffing is you ask yourself the questions that are relationship-based, how they get along with people and players. Then, are they moving the needle to help players grow? Those are all things that are determined internally that we don't necessarily share in public. But a lot of this is what did the resume look like before they got here, and how have they helped people grow? To do nothing, regardless of how you think about the organizational structure, I do think we should be looking at different ways to solve our problems in our situation. I really think it's more baseball operations in general and not simply just our major league staff. So it sounds to me that they have a lot of belief in the guys they got. They think a lot of these guys got hired, and this was kind of their growing pains year. And that they're going to be a lot better and have gotten a lot better as time goes on. I remember early on in the season, Dusty Blake, like guys would be struggling out on the mound and nobody would go out there and talk to them. Like moments that normally you would see Mike Maddox come out and give him the claw and put it on the shoulder. That wasn't happening. And then as time has moved on, I've noticed Dusty Blake goes out there a little bit more. I think he's developed relationships with these guys now. I'm not afraid to give him another year. But if they need to bring in like a veteran guy to just kind of be a supervisor a little bit, maybe just to help them along, I don't think that's such a bad idea. Although you get too many guys in the hen house saying different things, and that could be trouble too. So I don't know. But again, we haven't heard anything about the players saying anything negatively about the coaching staff either. All we've heard is that they work really, really hard, that they're always working with these guys. So maybe this was just a year of growing pains and they'll all be better together next year. It's a possibility. We'll see. Let's do some news and notes from the weekend next on Locked On Cardinals as Waino gets ready to hit the mound for a shot at career win 200 tonight at Busch. We'll talk about it next on Locked On Cardinals. The MLB playoffs are around the corner, which means the clock is ticking on your chance to multiply your money, your cash on daily fantasy baseball by 100. Baseball has never been more exciting than it is now. Not so much for what's going on with the Cardinals, although there's some cool things going on, but you've got Ronald Acuna Jr., Mookie Betts, Corey Seager, Matt Olson just hitting 52 bombs out of nowhere. On the mound, you've got Spencer Strider, although the Cardinals had no problems with him. Blake Snell, Luis Castillo. These are just a few of the names that are having amazing years right now in Major League Baseball. And what you can do is make money off of this. Pick more or less on the stats for these kind of stars, like the home runs, the hits, the strikeouts, stolen bases, and more. And for up to 100 times payout on Sleeper. That's where you're going to want to go. You get your picks right, you can win big. You got the Cardinals and Brewers starting up a series. Freddie Peralta on the hill tonight for Milwaukee. And Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado have lit him up like a Christmas tree. They have over their careers. Will they do it again tonight? Possibly. Could happen at Busch. Adam Wainwright on the mound. Had a rough year. I'm not saying bet against Waino, but would it be such a bad idea to put some Brewers in your lineup tonight? Because he gives up a lot of hits. Doesn't matter who it is. They usually hit Waino pretty decently. Catch my drift? These are some of the ideas that you need to do. And that way you can make more money. Use the promo code Locked On. You get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms for use for details. Check out Sleeper today. Cardinals back at home tonight to battle the Brewers. You can catch every pitch of the Cardinals hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Cardinals. Some quick news and notes from the weekend. Friday night, Zach Thompson got jumped early by the Phillies. Settled in nicely, though. It was weird that Dusty Blake went out there, tells him something. Next pitch gets hit over the wall by Nick Castellanos. But he ended up pitching very, very well after that. The team fought their way back, almost got that win against Aaron Nola. They made him work really, really hard. They just got to learn to hit the ball when people are on base. That's really it. They got to do a better job. They tied a season high with 15 runners left on Friday night. 3 of 11 with runners in scoring position. They have their chances, and I appreciate the adjustments made by Thompson. Just that one bad pitch to Castellanos was the real difference maker. But it's got to be better with runners in scoring position. Saturday, familiar sight as well. Miles Michaelis getting burned by the long ball. Again, 5 runs, 6 innings. The big blow, the 3-run home run by Kyle Schwarber, who just crushes the Cardinals. That happened in the 5th inning. 2-1 game at the time. Ends up becoming a 5-1 advantage. The Cardinals drew more walks, 8, than they had hits, 6. That's a lot of people on base. They stranded 13 again on Saturday. That's 28 people stranded over the first 2 games. You can't do that and expect to win Major League Baseball games. It's just not going to happen. Has to be better next year. Sunday, we had the Jordan Walker game, though. Jordan Walker, right out of the gate, Jordan Walker comes in, diving catch in the outfield on Schwarber to start the game. Beautiful play, then hits the dinger in the 8th inning to win it. We know the defense has improved. Offensively, he's also becoming the hitter that everyone thought he would be. In his last 30 days, hitting .325, 5 home runs, 13 RBIs. In September alone, he's hitting .302 with 4 home runs, 8 RBIs, 11 runs, .356 on base percentage, .566 slugging, .922 OPS. On the year, .272, 16 home runs, 47 ribbies. Is he going to win the NL Rookie of the Year? No. There's guys who are having crazy years. Corbin Carroll, Spencer Steer in Cincinnati. But among qualified rookies, here's what Jordan Walker's done. 9th in all of baseball in average, 4th in the National League, 16 home runs. He's now in a tie for 6th among qualified rookies in the league. He's 5th in the National League in that. OPS tied for 11th overall, 5th in the NL. OBP 11th overall, 6th in the NL. Slugging 12th overall, 5th in the National League. He's 21 years old, had never played in AAA before this year. I mean, the 21-year-old has gotten better every step along the way. And you wonder how much of the defensive stuff, like working so hard on that, might have taken away from what he was doing offensively. I don't know if that's the case. The being sent down to work on his launch angle type of thing. I don't know what that did with him mentally for a little bit there. But now looking at him, looks like he's going to be a stud. He looks like an absolute stud. So I'm excited about him, about his future. I love the way he's progressed along the way. Now, if we could just get Mason Wynn going, that's the guy I'm a little concerned about right now. I know I shouldn't be, but I just want to see him do really, really well over these last couple of weeks, just to have some good vibes going into the offseason and moving into next year, because he's still struggling. 173 since getting called up. Thanks again for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. Be sure to catch every pitch of the Cardinals hometown broadcast for the series against the Brewers with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Cardinals. Adam Wainwright going for career win number 200 tonight against Freddie Peralta. What do you guys think? Do you think he gets it tonight? Do you think he's feeling it? Do you think he's got the groove back after his great performance last time out? We'll see. Again, it's like playoff atmosphere when Adam Wainwright's on the mound. I hope there's a good crowd at Busch tonight who were anticipating a chance at history this evening. So it'd be nice to see 30, 40,000 people out there tonight watching this possible historic moment. I really hope he gets it done tonight, and then he can just breathe the rest of the season. If you haven't already, please give us a follow on Twitter at LO_Cardinals and at JD Sports Radio. Like and subscribe on YouTube. You're the best fans in baseball for a reason. We'll see you next time on Locked On Cardinals. Let's go, Wayno!